Alright, so what we're working on today is trying to get rid of all these xeriscape rocks, these landscape rocks from around the yard. And you can see behind the skid steer here, and then where we're shoveling now, we got a bunch of them. The original pad, you can see in the background there, with all the junk on it, that's 10 by 10. What our plan here is to leave that pad in place and then also pour around it to come to a grand total of 16 foot deep and 24 foot wide, with a nice sidewalk that goes in front of the skid steer here around the side of the house to the front gate, so it's easier to move the lawnmower and just a little more appealing. The big picture here, you can see in this clip I'm going to drop right now. That's kind of an example. I mean, you can see how bad the yard was, just kind of plain Jane. So we're going to try and make it a little bit nicer and a little more appealing, so when we have company over, and people aren't falling off that little concrete pad with the back of their chairs, and it's just a little more curb appeal for the house when we decide to sell it and move on. So let's get started and get to it. Alright, so this is literally, I think, the day of or the day after I brought this machine home. Pretty much dropped it off and checked the fluids, fired it up, and started using it to move these rocks. And it may not have been the right tool for the job. It's kind of large for these little backyards, but I couldn't help myself. I was anxious to start operating it and start learning the controls. But we got it done. We're just stacking the rocks on the side of the house here just to get them out of the way. Pretty much all around the house where the rocks were, they're very thin layered, so with a little bit of walking across them, or really just a heavy rain, sometimes they'd move and expose bare spots. So we're just trying to put them over there, get them out of the way for this concrete, and then we can spread them out later on. This stuff was literally a nightmare, and I kind of shot myself in the foot when I started stacking those rocks over here because I just made it deeper. But all this fabric, man, what a pain in the butt. I should have just paid the concrete company to do this part, but if I just paid everybody to do the hard stuff, what would be left for me to do? Here in just a second, you're going to see I learned the corners and the limits of this machine pretty quickly in this tiny little space. For some reason, I thought it was a good idea to try and get it back in here. And it did a fairly decent job, but it was just so tight. And then the way I was using the bucket, you'll see here in a second, I know it's not ideal. Puts a lot of strain on the hydraulics and the arms and whatnot, but there really wasn't another decent option for this other than going manual labor or getting a different machine like a little mini skid. I think that's on my long-term shopping list after doing this project and another project in my neighborhood, hauling a bunch of rock by hand. So yeah, here's where I'm kind of misusing the bucket. Not really sure if I made a bigger mess doing this or if it was actually helpful, but I guess it doesn't much matter now because it's done. Alright, so this is where we're at on this. I took this and dropped it down, put it a little bit below the grade, so when they pour, they can just pour right over it. I still have to extend it about another foot. Bought short pieces because I didn't feel like dealing with long pieces, so it'd be a coupler and another piece. Almost no water comes through that. That's the sump drain, which it's never run in the 3 years we've lived here, so good news on that. I gotta still move a couple things out of the way, but the sidewalk will continue on down this way. Of course, right now Lowe's is out of like everything, so these are the only pieces that I could come up with for the gutters, but it's the important part right here because this is where the concrete will come across. So concrete will come across here, out here, and then pretty much a straight shot into the patio pad right here. It'll be 16 out and then 26 down, and then fill in that little part there. But they're coming pretty soon here to do the dirt work because it has to be level with that, but also they're gonna make it 3 inches thick like this one here is. So they're gonna have to drop all this grade, probably drag it out here, fill in these spots. But this rock was a huge pain in the butt to move. It's got that landscape fabric underneath it, so it's almost impossible to get a shovel under the rock between the fabric. So I tore up a lot of the fabric. I'm not that worried about it. As you can see in my junk collection back here, I have plenty of rock stored up that I removed from here that I can spread around the rest of the yard, and then fill in a couple spots that aren't actually getting concrete. So that's that. Oh no, the site foreman showed up. Everybody act like you're working. Today's the day. Today we're getting some concrete poured in here. It's been formed up for a little over a week now. Had some bad weather on the day we were supposed to pour, so we got rescheduled. But we are ready for it. Grading looks pretty good. Alright, so this is the project that we're working on the next couple days. It's supposed to be a surprise for my wife because she's out of town visiting family. I wasn't able to go with her, so it's supposed to be a surprise, but of course she caught me. So we're going to do a pergola that is, this pad is 16 by 26. We just had this installed. Well, this part is old. This came with the house. It's like a 10 by 10, but we got an extra 6 feet added on that way, and then an extra 16 that way. So the plane here is 24 foot long, and it's going to be about a 15 foot deep pergola. Went with steel beams because right now there is the mill that I contacted for some big cedar beams. That's what I originally was going to do it out of. Said, oh, you know, we can get them ready for you to pick up in 2 to 3 weeks, and I don't have that kind of window. So I actually prefer to work with steel anyway, so we're going with steel. But the plan is we're only going to have our legs or our columns on the corners, so that's going to give us a nice 24 foot span. It's a 10-12 W, so wide flange I-beam, and laid into this will be 2 by 8 redwood, and then these slats will be 2 by 6 redwood. They're going to be 16 feet, but obviously we're going to cut them down to like 15 to make them fit in here. So it's going to be kind of a, I guess, a industrial, modern, rustic pergola, and I'm pretty excited about it because it's something different. It's not going to be like your normal pergola you see everywhere, so it'll be a little special. I started the video a little late because I was trying to get everything put together real quick, get all the materials to the house and whatnot, and kind of left the camera at home when I went to pick up the steel, but I was able to use that new gooseneck that I recently built. It's a 20-foot flatbed. I was able to use that and pick all the metal up, and now I'm just waiting on a big blue box store to actually be helpful and put together an online order that I ordered 3 days ago. When I called for an update yesterday, they just wanted to catch an attitude, so we'll see how that turns out. And the plan for the paint on that, I actually ordered some CRC cold galvanized coating, a gallon of it, which is supposed to be here today. So it will match the flower beds I have out back because they're galvanized and a rough cut cedar. Started without you guys, had to make a bunch of cuts. We had, in addition to just trying to get materials going and my short timeline on this because my wife will be home and I'm still doing my full-time job. So I pretty much have the next, this weekend to get as much done, and I have one full day next week. Made a bunch of cuts without you guys. Now you're here, so let's get to it.
Ready to set it in there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Got that? Enough.
That's good.
Well, then we'll move on to the other side for safety's sake.
As far up as you can get. Okay. I think we'll be good.
Legs on it and then worry about positioning, as long as we think we're good. All right, finally got a call from the hardware store and they have the lumber ready for pickup for this pergola, so gotta feed the dogs real quick. You hungry yet? No, you don't eat breakfast till later. A little snack real quick. All right. Okay. So we got to go pick up the big trailer. I've got 16-foot lumber coming in today, so the dump trailer is not going to work for that. So we got to go grab the flatbed and then head there to the lumber yard to grab the stuff. All right, we got her all hooked up. Let's go grab some lumber. So no surprise here, just as I would have expected based on the fact that it took 3 days to pull the lumber that would have taken me a couple minutes, but showed up today, got an email saying my order was ready for pickup, showed up today, decided to go in and check it out first instead of just pulling up to receive it and load it up, and several pieces of wood were missing because I placed the order 3 days ago and they were in stock. And then I guess when they pulled it at 9 p.m. last night to actually put it together, they didn't have those pieces of wood in stock anymore. And a lot of what was on that cart is not going to be usable. It's going to be returned at the end of this because it looks like trash. So I went in, pulled some extra wood off, which is what you saw in the trailer before I loaded up the big cart full. And I got some extra lumber because some of that stuff on there just looks horrendous.